Hello everyone. We are back again. This is your Wednesday lunchtime cuteness alert. Back with our lovely kittens. And we've actually got the same litter this week as we did last week. You'll be glad to see they've kept hold of their Kitten Castle. And they're enjoying lots of playtime on it, even more so this week, I think. So, if you didn't join us last week, these are Riley's kittens. So, they are now 7 weeks old. Riley had already had her kittens when she came into our care at Cats Protection. And they were just a couple of weeks old. And since they've been with us, they've been enjoying lots of fun time like this and socialisation sessions with volunteers like Helen, who we've got here today with us. And the socialisation, as we've said previously, but if you don't know, is from 2 weeks to about 8 weeks of age. It's really, really key time in a kitten's life. They're learning lots of life skills, they're still learning lots from mum. It's really important that we keep them with mum for as long as possible up until that 8 week point. But they also can learn lots from us, particularly if we're expecting them to be domesticated cats. It's really important that we teach them to experience being around humans, being handled by humans, be comfortable around us, and that's what part of socialisation entails, because these little guys will be going off to new homes in a couple of weeks once they've had their neutering operations, once they've had their flea and worm treatment, once they've been completely vet checked, and then they'll be ready for their homes. But a really important part of that is making sure that they've had exposure to things like noises that will be in their new homes, people that will be in their new homes, and also that we teach them things like how to play appropriately. They've got really good, as you can see from some of these little playful guys, they've got really good innate sort of hunting behaviours. So they pounce a lot. You know when you look at kittens, they're always pouncing, they're always jumping, they're always trying to land on things and grab things, and that's a really innate behaviour. So it's something that we really encourage in an appropriate way. So with lots of toys, not using hands and fingers, because as you can imagine, small claws turn into big claws. That can hurt quite a lot in the future. But as you can see, here at Cats Protection, we try and make this process as fun as possible for these little kittens. This litter is 7 weeks old currently, so they've got maybe just another week or two of proper socialisation before they are potentially ready to rehome. Mum will also be rehomed. Mum's having a lovely rest in a little pen of her own at the moment. I'm sure any mums out there can testify that a break from the kids is very, very well received. So, yeah, Mum Riley's having a lovely time. We're just checking in on a potential escapee over there, Arifa. Very inquisitive, and anyone that tuned in last week might notice, I think I'm already noticing, the difference in the confidence of these kittens. They took a little while to come out of their shell last week. They were exploring their castle quite a bit, but this week they are on another level. They're in, they're out, up and down, trying to escape. So anyone that's ever had a kitten before can attest that they will get into the smallest spaces. They will jump over things and through things and climb under things that you never thought possible. And these guys seem to be no exception. But it's really nice to see when we do socialisation like this that their confidence does grow week on week. They, depending on their background and their situation, they can sometimes start out life quite anxious, a little bit stressed, and we really try and reduce that as much as possible while they're in our care. Setups like this also give them a little bit of a taste of, what it'll be like in their new home. We recommend when people get a cat or a kitten home for the first time, that they give them their own unique space, whether that's a spare bedroom or maybe like a little office space or something like that, that they can acclimatise to in the first 24 hours certainly, but next couple of days after that as well. And you'd put in that room all their essentials, so everything that we've got here in the pen, so some water, they usually have their food, you make sure that there's a litter tray, plenty of toys to play with, and really important is at least 1 or 2 places to hide, because new experiences can be really daunting for cats, whether it's kittens, whether it's cats. And this litter might not make it seem like they're particularly daunted, but as you can imagine, I'm sure at this size, going into a new house, this is going to go one of 2 ways. It's going to be very, very exciting, and they're going to want to go everywhere. That does happen. Or they're going to want to hide away for a little bit, acclimatise themselves, get to know the household and the smells and the noises, and then take a little time to come out of their shell. So it's really important we give them the opportunity to do that, whichever way their personalities go. There's a little bit of fisticuffs happening inside the castle. So Helen, do you want to just tell us, as you said, these guys are 7 weeks old, or halfway through their sort of 7th week. So what sort of things by this point would you be looking to do with them, apart from obviously have a whale of a time and play with them while you're socialising?
Yes, so obviously I am having a lot of fun playing with them at the moment, but the aim of this also is every so often I will take one kitten away and do some checks with them that are kind of the usual checks that a cat would get generally at the vets, but also the sort of handling that cats experience from humans when they're this age, but also
I love that we're trying to make Helen talk while she's frantically checking there's still 5 kittens in the pen.
Yeah. So, for example, in terms of like getting them used to things like the vet checks, we would check their ears. So we check inside their ears, and then what we do is we also kind of restrain the head, for a better word than restrain. So we just like look at, lift their heads up a little bit and have a look at them, check their eyes are nice and clear and clean. Yeah. And then the other thing at this age, we're able, if you'll let me, open their mouths. Open your mouth, there we go.
So that's sort of like a little pinch at either side of the mouth, isn't it, to just get them to open their jaw?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I don't grab their head or anything. I just kind of just pinch the corners a little bit, and it tends to make them want to open their mouths. Thank you.
Yeah. Faye's on a rescue mission. That's Helen. Talking to us
we also check their paws. So both their front and their back paws. Have a little look under the tail. Yeah. And then obviously just make sure we give them a full handle, so they get used to being handling, but also giving them nice strokes and stuff, so they start to really enjoy it. Yeah. And then obviously they will associate that with, humans being loving towards them, and
that's a really important point actually
with humans.
Yeah, because we always say about the vet checks and everything that you go through with them, but I think getting them comfortable with being handled and knowing that it's a sort of loving gesture, rather than something to be worried about, is really, really important, isn't it? Oh, you're having a lovely stroke there.
Your belly. Yeah, that's another thing. Obviously, a lot of cats don't like their bellies being touched, but during this age, we do obviously touch their bellies, so they get used to that sort of thing, so they don't get aggressive towards the vet when the vet has to check their stomachs.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good idea. Like you say, it's not something we advise people to necessarily do unless they know their own cat really does love it, because most cats we find, all cats have areas that they don't really like to be touched as much, but the stomach is often a big no-no for a lot of cats. But if we can get them used to it at this age, there's as Helen said, more of a chance that they won't be aggressive towards humans when we we might try later on in life. So many rescue missions going on.
Yeah. I'm loving the castle.
Yeah, the castle's a great idea in theory, but in this pen it does mean that they have a lovely platform to leap from.
Very true.
In all honesty, it's not the end of the world because we have a lovely, we're in the maternity and family wing at our Cats Protection Centre that we're at today. So if they did escape our pen, there's only so far they can go. All they'd be doing is taking a nice scenic tour to see the other kittens and mums past their pens.
Oh, oh, you're really high up.
I just love a bit of height, don't I?
Another thing that we do as kitten socialisers is we have a general kind of checklist. So it looks a bit like this, where we have a list of things for each week. So we start at week 2 when they're 2 weeks old, and then we go through all the way up to 8 weeks. And we tend to continue as well after that, obviously, while they're up for adoption and being reserved and things, like we keep it going. But yeah, we just go along these checks, and there's certain things on here that are a little bit more, today wouldn't do it with these guys today, but there's things like getting them used to the carrier. So we'll get a carrier out and we'll put them in.
Yeah, obviously something that has to happen when they go home and when they go to the vets anytime thereafter.
Yeah, because we don't want them to be scared of the carrier.
No.
Which is, also why in general cat behaviour we encourage keeping the carrier out if possible, so they get used to the carrier, not putting it away, so they don't associate.
So that it doesn't only come out when they're going to the vets for a nasty.
Yeah, exactly. So we start it at an early age of them getting used to the carrier, and then another thing we do sometimes is. We'll get one of the tables out and we'll put them on the table and just hold them, so they're used to being held on a table and then being checked on the table, because that's obviously at the vets they will be getting that sort of treatment.
That's the treatment.
So they get used to being put on a table.
Yeah, like you say, it's useful to have that checklist because they are quite distracting. You could just sit here and play for hours on end, which we do tend to do for these videos because, we know what you guys want. But equally, the checks are really important. And all of our volunteer socialisers, the job's really important because not only are they giving the kittens, sort of undivided attention for a period of time each day that they're in, they are doing these checks. And the staff that work in our centres and the volunteers that work in our centres doing the general cat care, there's a lot to keep on top of. The feeding, the cleaning, and, vet checks, making sure that they have everything they need. So it's really important that this extra kind of care and attention can be taken by guys like Helen, because anything that they notice that's sort of out of the ordinary will get fed back to the right teams. We can get vet checks in place as needed.
It's caught it.
Yes.
And which one is this?
I think
Wait, hold on. I think
she
this
might
is
be
Riley.
our girl.
I think
no,
this might be Riley.
Riley's the mum, but I think she might be our little girl. There's only one girl in this litter. So if anyone didn't join us last week, the kittens in this litter all have sweetie names or candy names.
Snickers is growling because she's caught the toy.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, a kitten growl is my favourite.
Yeah, you caught it. Well done. Yeah.
She's hiding behind the box as she's doing it. But yeah, they've all got brilliant names. I mean, some of the cats and kittens' names in these centres are just my favourite. But we've got a jelly bean, we've got a Snickers, we've got licorice, gumdrop, and a sherbet.
I think that might be
Brilliant.
licorice growling.
Oh.
And then that's Snickers.
Snickers is the other black one, yeah. Hard to tell when they're like moving around so fast. It's you've got to keep track of who's who.
Oh, you're going to let me have it? You coming out? Oh, you're on my checklist.
It's just checking you've done everything you should have done. Checking in on your work, Helen.
Yeah. You can tick it off for me?
Yeah, there's a serious tussle happening with this feathery fishing rod toy.
That's good.
Oh, we've got Chris on the comments saying you all do a marvellous job. Thanks, Chris. Terrible day job for Helen, this is. Sitting in a pen with all these kittens. That little hole in the castle that we've got underneath the rainbow is a real hit, isn't it? Yeah, so for anyone wondering, I mean, if you own a cat, you already know this, but cats love cardboard boxes. So the story behind this particular castle, and actually some of our other centres and branches doing the same, is that we've had an awful lot of pregnant cats and kittens come into our care this summer. As you can imagine, kittens need even more round-the-clock care than just your average cat that might come into our care. But it's a lesser-known fact, I think, among people that pregnant or nursing cats, female cats, are called queens. So we thought it would be a nice tribute to all the cat mums and the kittens that are in our care this summer to create them their very own little castles. We always have cardboard boxes lying around at our National Cat Adoption Centre from all the packages. We get sent lovely donations from people, and obviously all our cat food comes in boxes and everything. And we are nothing if not ecologically minded. We are recycling our boxes into amazing castles. And the lucky thing for this litter is that now that they've played in this castle, it's officially theirs. So you may have noticed on the stream, and we say this quite often, that Helen is wearing protective clothing, so that includes gloves and an apron and shoe coverings, and that's just to reduce the possible transmission of any bacteria or sort of illnesses or anything into and out of the centre. It's particularly important when we're handling kittens, so we don't want to transfer any potential illnesses between litters. So that does therefore mean also that any toys and amazing cardboard castles are also kept for that litter only. So even the little playpen that they're in this week will be fully cleaned and sanitised before any other litters are allowed to use it. Just keeps everyone lovely and safe. And it's really important for kittens because obviously they haven't had all their vaccinations by this point. So there's 2 sets of vaccinations that the kittens will need, and when they're very young, and then as we mentioned, they will also be neutered and they will have flea and worm treatment, they have full vet checks before they go to their forever homes. So yeah, I'm not going to lie, we had a lot of fun making the castle. Not as much fun as this litter are having playing on it, but if anyone does make their own cardboard creations, be it a castle or we've had motor cars before, we've had a little cat ambulance and a fire engine, we've seen Star Wars, Millennium Falcons being built and X-Wings, and if anyone has got any brilliant creations that they want to share with us, we would love to see them. We're always up for sharing them on our social media channels. So I think we're going to wrap up there for Facebook for today, but we are going to do, and just before we wrap up, Helen's being attacked from behind. You looked very shocked to Helen. We're going to wrap up on Facebook for today, and thank you to everyone who's joined us. And we're going to hop over onto Instagram now and do just a little 5-10 minutes on Instagram as well for anyone who follows us on there. So if you do follow us on Instagram and fancy continuing the fun, come on over and we'll see you there shortly. Any questions that have gone into the comments, we'll make sure we answer. And even after this video has gone live, if you have any further questions or comments, please do add them, because we'll make sure that we look back at the video and answer anything that anyone wants to know. But thanks for joining, and we'll see you over on Instagram.